my soul. Pick me up and go. Take me away, I don't wanna stay another day in my head. Boiling in my soul, calling me back home. Take me away, I don't wanna stay another day in my head. Oh, this mess I'm in, I need my medicine to keep me alive. Oh, this mess I'm in, I gotta keep on rolling. I gotta keep on rolling. Waiting for my turn.
Hi, I'm Mitch Gallagher. Welcome to the Sweetwater Minute. This time on the Sweetwater Minute, we are joined by Jamestown Revival. We have Jonathan Clay and Zach Chance. Thanks for coming in, guys. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So you're here on behalf of AEA Microphones.
Yes.
You were playing in the sales meeting this morning, and we just caught some footage of you playing here in the studio as well.
Yeah, we
nice.
enjoying our surroundings here.
Yeah.
Lots of toys.
Early morning.
Yeah, get up bright and early and make some music.
Early morning,
right?
but enjoying all the toys and the gear.
Yeah, right. Well, we're surrounded by AEA microphones, and I want to talk with you about that. But
it's a good place to be, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So your EP California drops today, actually.
Yes.
As we're speaking. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And that is a precursor of a full album that's coming out a bit later, right?
Yeah, I think we can expect a full album in January, hopefully sometime.
Nice.
Is the plan.
Nice
plan.
Yeah. Nice. So you guys are originally from Texas?
Yes.
And made your way to Austin, correct?
Yeah, we grew up together and went to school around Austin, and then moved to Los Angeles a couple years ago, and then recently moved back home. So we've been traveling,
splitting time.
Right,
yeah.
right. One of the things that really impresses me is the way your vocals blend. Do you write specifically to take advantage of that? Do you both write, or do you write individually, or how do you approach that?
It's a very cumulative effort.
Yeah, I think it's collective experience. It's things that we usually something will happen to us, or we'll collect enough memories and stories to sit down and write songs together. So it's really cool. It's sort of it's just very autobiographical. It's our story. It's our story as friends and musicians.
Right.
As far as the harmonies go, it's almost just kind of natural. Like, we definitely write with that in mind. It's. I think we've gotten to the point now where we don't really like singing by ourselves anymore.
I feel naked up there. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a thing that happens that I can't quite put into words, but we'll know when it's not working, and then when a harmony's right. Sometimes we'll have a line or a melody that we like, but the harmony's not working, and we'll tweak it a little bit, and when it locks in, it's like we get that spark in our eye, and we're like, that's it. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Right.
And so we try to collect as many of those moments as we can, and build the songs around those, really.
Right. How did you discover that originally?
Man, we grew up, I want to say when we were pretty young, maybe 14 or 15. I was hanging out over at John's house, and he started playing a little bit of guitar. And he's like, "Hey, check out this song." I'm like, "Oh, you sing too? That's cool." So it kind of grew out of that. But then we used to be solo. We would do different things, but whenever we would sing together, people seemed to really respond well to that. And we figured out pretty quickly we enjoyed doing it together more than we did on our own. So it was a pretty easy transition,
right, to
just sort of go at it and combine forces, I guess.
Yeah, the way I feel is, I dropped out of school when I was 20 years old and been pursuing a music career ever since, and like Zach was saying, solo artist for a while. And I feel like when we finally came together and put our heads together, hard and fast, I feel like for the first time I started swimming with the current. It was like things started happening so much easier. And I think it was because personally I was finally doing what I was really truly meant to be doing, and how I was really truly meant to be doing it. So
Right. So it's a very organic sound. Do you guys draw that out of the tradition of the Texas music? Was that a lot of that when you were growing up or moving to Austin? Or
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we realized how much Texas music played an influence on us until we moved to California.
Mm-hmm.
And we certainly realized we were a lot more country than we thought of ourselves. And then we got to California and figured that out pretty quickly. But, Willie Nelson, Guy Clark, Townes Van Zandt, all these guys, all these great musicians, you hear that and it rubs off on you. And so whether you like it or not, that becomes a part of your sound. And so we owe a lot of that to them, those guys.
I think sometimes you have to be surrounded by what you are not to realize what you are. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's kind of what happened. I feel like our identities were really sort of brought to the forefront when we surrounded ourselves with concrete and the epicenter of pop music, which was Los Angeles.
Right.
And it was definitely a dichotomy, but it
strengthened.
It brought
our
out
identity.
Yeah, it brought out in us what I think was always there and was always kind of buried, but it really kind of pushed that to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. So the new album, you went to a cabin in Utah, correct? Which I think is always kind of a musician's dream, right? I'm going to isolate myself in the mountains, these beautiful surroundings, and make music.
It's
with
a
my friends.
romantic idea.
Yeah.
And an adventure. It was certainly an adventure to load up a truck full of gear and take a handful of friends and some fellow musicians and get out there and just get our hands dirty. We honestly bit off more than we could chew, but we just stuck with it and figured out how we were going to make it work. And
we damn near killed each other about halfway through.
And we were lucky enough to team up with AEA, and they were generous enough to let us use a whole array of their mics. And so that's the combination of that cabin and those microphones, those AEA microphones, is what you hear on the record. It's what you hear on the EP and the forthcoming record. But it was an awesome experience. It was really cool.
Yeah, I bet. One of the beautiful things about these microphones being ribbons and with those figure 8 patterns is I mentioned the word organic, and they're definitely organic sounding mics. They hear the way that your ears hear. Mm-hmm. Did you find interesting ways to place those to capture instruments? Did you take advantage of the sound of the cabin?
We did. I mean, when we decided to make this record, when we committed mentally to making this record, the first thing we did was start to research and start to learn about, how did people make the records we like and what did they do? And, we realized first and foremost, one of the things that was going to be the most important was the performance. Mm-hmm. And so, when you're in a studio and you're in an ISO booth and you're singing with headphones on into this mic right in your face, it just, to me, it kind of kills the performance, especially.
It becomes very sterile.
Yeah, and our harmonies start to fight a little bit. Yeah, it just loses that real lock. And so we knew that we wanted to record the album to tape. We knew that we wanted, to put performance as a top priority. And so in researching, we were led pretty quickly to AEA. Just doing what they do, specializing in what they specialize in, which is those, old school style ribbon mics. And so we learned a lot, and the more we learned, the quicker we realized, like, we have to use these mics. So, I shot a hopeful email to Wes, and luckily he was nice enough to respond to us. And it really, I think, doing as far as the placement goes, we didn't use headphones. We didn't use a metronome. It was literally our drummer playing a very stripped down kit, our bass player with an amp that we had mic'd up with that mic actually, and Zach at a piano and me at a guitar, and we were all facing each other in a round circle basically, and we were playing at a pretty low volume, low enough to where we could physically, literally hear each other. No headphones needed. And I think that in and of itself gave the record a sound, not only technically because of bleed and all these things, but just performance-wise, it lent itself to a real energy developing in the room. And all those things together just created the sound that became the record.
Right. How long did you take to record the record?
We recorded over about 5 days, I want to say. We took 4 or 5
weeks total.
Yeah,
but...
it took almost a week setting up, and we played with different sounds and mics in different places, and we had microphones in the garage beneath. We turned the master bedroom of this cabin into the control room.
Okay.
And so beneath the control room was a garage, and that was our echo chamber, and we had our own reverb chamber, which was really cool. We had so much fun just playing with the different noises. But once we had that, drummer and bass player came out, and I think we did about 14 songs in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, that's moving pretty fast.
So yeah, it was some late nights, early mornings, but it was well worth it.
Right. Did you spend a lot of time doing pre-production, working out arrangements for songs, or did you go in and try and do them more spontaneously?
We did.
We had been on the road, which always
we'd been on the
helps
road.
because you really into the song and sort of understand it.
As far as preparation, we almost spent more time preparing the cabin.
Yeah.
We even, went up to the hardware store and got, 4x6 slats of plywood
sheets, yeah.
to put to make, mock hardwood floors because it was carpet.
It took us on average about 5 takes per song.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah, that was kind of the magic
There
number.
were some that we had to beat our head against the wall with, and
Right.
you're not always going to get it. It ends up being, there was a couple on the record that it was the last night we were there, and we knew we had to get something. So probably about 4 a.m, we actually stood around 1:44 and recorded a couple songs, and they turned out they have such like a delicateness to them that become it's a moment, and that was that's what we figured out is we wanted to capture moments.
Okay.
And so
Right.
we did our best at that.
To add to that, with our music, sometimes I think anytime you get in the studio, the instinct is to church it up and spice it up with all these things that you don't have the ability to do live. You have the advantage of being able to do all this stuff in the studio. And it seemed like the more we would try to fight what was natural and add all this stuff, the more our songs lost what they were. And like Zach was saying, this night we were trying to record Medicine, and it just wasn't really working. The arrangement wasn't working, and it was 3, 4 in the morning, and we finally just said, you know what, let's strip this completely down. So we stood one mic in the middle of the room. We just both each one of us sang into a side of that mic, and that was our foundation, and we just delicately placed things around that, and that was the song. And when we were done, we were listening, and just, it kind of gave you chills.
Yeah.
It was just like, man, that's it. That's right.
Right.
So, it was, they all developed.
in their own ways. Some obviously much more
Yeah, I
frustrating.
don't think you can overthink it going into it. You just have a general outline, and then you have some happy mistakes along the way.
Yeah, we wanted to let things happen.
Sure. Did you do overdub vocals, or did you capture vocals at the same time you were doing basic tracks?
Yes, all the vocals.
Everything. Nothing was overdubbed. There might be one song at the end of the record that we added some O's and things at the end, but that was the only
So
one.
pretty much live to tape.
We kept
very
all
cool.
our harmonies 2-part harmonies. Like we wanted to keep it how we play it live, and which is also the reason we'll have music supervisors asking us for instrumental tracks, and we can't give them to them because our vocals in the drum mic. Our vocals are everywhere. I mean,
Right.
there was no isolation, but that was a
Right.
choice we made.
Yeah. And when you have mics like these, that bleed is a beautiful thing.
It really
life
is
to
cool.
it.
It adds
Yeah.
when you pull one thing out, it can suck the life out of it. It's fun to play with.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Guys, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for
Really
having
appreciate
us.
you being here.
Yeah, we really
Congratulations on the
appreciate
EP. We'll look forward
Thank
to
you very
the
much.
full album. Enjoyed listening to you guys harmonizing
Yeah.
and playing some music this morning. So thanks very much
enjoyed
for your time.
Yeah,
really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Lately, I've been low. Things been moving slow. I could not tell you why. Maybe too much paradise. something came calling, and I knew this time I had to go. Three months down the road, I wound up in the land of gold. I was headstrong with an open eye, and a wonder's alibi, heading towards the canyon. I abandoned everything I owned.
We are now joined by Wes and Julian from AEA. Thanks for coming in, guys. Appreciate you being here, and thanks for bringing in Jamestown Revival.
Yeah.
Glad to have the guys here. It was incredible hearing the music and getting to see them in the studio. So thanks a lot for that.
Well, Jamestown Revival and the music that I heard back to '54 when I started listening to steel guitars and country music in Southern California being played for the Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma workers at the aerospace plants making planes. That's why we do these microphones. That's why we're involved in this, because it's just such a joy to have people making music for their own pleasure that we are just really pleased to be able to hand back some of that.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be so fun to watch guys like that, talented guys like that, take microphones and really do something with them. And as they were saying when I talked to them, capture those moments that are really special.
Yeah, it's really cool when you have these two guys on one mic, and it's just magic,
Right.
It's great.
Right. So one of the things we're celebrating today is not only the release of Jamestown Revival's EP, but also the release of your new microphone, the N22. And I just happen to have one here. Brand new microphone from AEA. Now tell us about this microphone. Where did the idea for it come from?
Well, the idea actually came from talking with some of your people, Forrest and Joseph and such here. And we asked, could you tell us who's your core audience here?
Right.
And they said, well, singer-songwriters, people who have $500 to $5,000 worth of recording gear. And I went, well, I like to think that is guitar and voice and Joni Mitchell.
Sure.
But I've known a lot of them, and they tend to be multi-instrumentalists. They tend to play with their friends. It's the sort of thing that I really like being down in Nashville for. And they have been playing a long time, and they know how they sound, and they know how the other people sound.
Right.
And they said, yeah, that's pretty much it. And I went, okay, and you can buy absolutely spectacular recording gear that doesn't take up any space and talks to a computer or just stand alone. The microphones are the hard part there. So I would guess that these people start with an SM57 or 58, and somewhere in that first year, it's really clear to them that this doesn't sound like what they do. And then they probably come back to you and say, well, what do we do for a better microphone that sounds like us? I happen to know that we do really well working in the RCA tradition.
Sure.
With microphones that sound like being there. I've had Eddie Van Halen say that, I've had classical people say that, and I've had a whole lot of people in Nashville say that. So we decided to tackle a microphone for inbox, Avid, the sort of things that people would buy as their first recording rig.
Okay.
Because the value of those systems is incredibly high. And they're microphone limited. And of course, microphone stands to put them in the right place.
Sure.
So the end result was I'd had a project that I was working on in 2006 that I'd made a little fancier than it needed to be. And went back and looked at that and started working on it 18 months ago. And we decided to treat it like the project we'd done for things we'd enjoyed the most. Listen first, measure later. And this is the tradition RCA came from, because it was really cumbersome back in the day, in the 30s, to measure things. And what you cared about was how did it sound.
Sure.
So this technique would be listen to it. Everything from what you could do in your living room to in your parlor to in front of the NBC Symphony of the Air.
Right.
And when it sounded good on all that, then you probably wanted to measure it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the technique and the tactic we went with.
Okay.
And so we knew when we finished this microphone up, and we've had a lot of people listen to it, starting with the people in-house,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew that we had a mic that sounded really good. And then we measured it and went, oh, that's how it measures, kind of like the RCA 44. You'd never design a mic to have that curve,
Mm-hmm.
but in fact, it's turned out thousands of hits, and it touches people's hearts.
Sure.
And that's what we wanted to do with a microphone, is to have a mic you could just plug in and go. You put it somewhere nearby,
Mm-hmm.
and it would sound like what you were doing, and it would let people hear what was in your heart.
Right.
And that's the whole point of this. We've had a really good chance to work with excellent people in Nashville and around Los Angeles. Julian has a lot of people who've done this.
Right.
Talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Yeah,
John.
so I mean, the process was, we came up with this design. Wes had it in his drawer for quite some time, and then we just started handing it out to people. And it's great when you get direct feedback from users and singer-songwriters, musicians, home studio owners, but even experienced engineers.
Mm-hmm.
We had a pair of these just recently on a score at Fox Studios, a John Williams score. Recorded by Sean Murphy, and he used a pair of N22s on the solo piano. It was not exactly what we designed it for, but even better when you get that sort of feedback. When he says, I can't take it down, I have to keep it.
Right.
But at the same time, also, we discovered what are the things we can tweak to really make it work for that sort of customer group. And it's one thing with this mic. Really, you don't have to worry about the fact that it's a ribbon anymore. A lot of people have concerns. Well, what if I accidentally apply phantom power? This is a phantom powered ribbon microphone, so it actually needs the phantom power to work. So you don't have to worry about it. You just hit the button and you're good to go.
Right.
The other concern that some people might have is wind protection, because it is a 2.35 long, very thin ribbon, pure aluminum. So it is sensitive to wind, and you have to do some things in the design to protect it from wind blasts. So we came up with a system of cloths and screens to really protect the ribbon and make it easy to use.
Right.
A nice side effect of that is that the N22 is really great for live sound applications as well. So, electric guitar live on stage. We just had the guitar player for Alicia Keys perform in New York Central Park with a pair of the N22 on his live guitar setup.
Mm-hmm.
So we really see the N22 used in that application much more than our other microphones.
Right, right. Now you were engineering the sessions here this morning with the Jamestown Revival guys were playing, and we had acoustic guitar, we had upright piano, we had grand piano and vocals. Right. I was noticing where you were placing the N22 to capture some of those different things. And what was interesting to me is that it's closer than I think sometimes people would place a ribbon because of the proximity effect. Did you specifically design it for that type of an application to get up closer?
Yes.
So you don't have all that boominess that that comes out.
Yeah, we wanted a microphone that you can put right there, right up close. And it's great because you get that sort of ribbon tone, but you don't get excessive boominess that you might sometimes get when you put it up that close.
Right.
So that, and in combination with kind of more of an upper mid-range clarity and presence, you really get a great sound, up close on an acoustic guitar, for example, without the need for EQ.
Right. It looked like you were placing it 5-6 inches back, about the 14th fret on the guitar.
The funny thing is, with the classic ribbon microphones, they work best in good sounding rooms, more at a distance, because that's when they were designed in the 30s and 40s. You had to make a great recording with one, maybe two microphones in a good sounding room at a distance.
Right.
Times have changed a little bit since then.
Right.
And now you have maybe less than ideal acoustic spaces, and you want to get a mic right in there. So with our R series and A series microphones, they typically work better at more of a distance than what you would maybe expect from a condenser microphone.
Sure.
But I find with the N22, you can put it right next to it, and we did that, this morning.
Right.
And you get a great sound right off the bat in that position.
Right. You were also, there was a track where you had the two guys singing, one on each side of the mic, and it sounded pretty equal on the two sides of the mic. Sometimes there's a difference between the tonality. Again, did you design it to try and be matched on the two sides of the microphone?
Did design it so that you could also use it for stereo bloom line very easily, and that it matched sounds like the 88 and the 44 we have, which the front and the back sound the same, as opposed to the 84 and especially the 92, where we made the sounds front and back enough different that you could use it for your lead vocal and then flip it around and have the same person singing the backup vocals.
Okay. Right.
This one, you can think of the N for, as well as Nuvo, the new series, you can think of it as near and natural.
Right. Right, which was definitely apparent when you put it on the grand piano. Behind us here, we have the mic still set up, and you've got one kind of over the mid-range strings, kind of up toward the front of the piano. The other toward the back, I assume catching the bottom end more off of the piano. But again, pretty close down. What I was impressed with was, number one, that you're getting a nice stereo spread, a nice separation, but at the same time, you're capturing all that resonance and a really natural sound without a harsh top end. So obviously very successful for that application as well. Now, are you also recommending that for electric instruments? You mentioned Alicia Keys, a guitar player, was using it on an amp. Is it able to take high decibels?
Yeah, absolutely. So it actually has the same electronics that we use in our much more expensive microphones, like the A840 that we have here, or the A440. So it can take up to 141 dB SPL. And all the time during beta testing, I went to the guys and said, try to blow it up, and I didn't get one that was broken.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And what about on drums? Have you tried it on drums as well?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we, this is another one of those things where with our other microphones, I would typically use them for a mono room, or stereo room, maybe overhead microphones. We've very successfully used the R92 on toms, but with this one, again, it's a close-up microphone. So we've used this on snare drum, which was, because of the form factor, you can really get it in there, and but not necessarily something that would come to mind when you talk about ribbon microphones.
Right.
But yeah, and it worked perfectly.
Wow.
We used it on a session with Jim Keltner over in Burbank, and yeah, it worked really well.
Wow. So definitely an incredibly versatile microphone. Yeah. I think the natural is a great way to describe it. So we're really excited to have this here. Congratulations on the release of the new mics. And you guys are heading off to the AES show to continue the introduction, correct?
That's right. Stopped by here to do the first introduction. We're going there to do the public introduction. Next week we'll start shipping them.
Well, I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm really looking forward to giving it a try. Thanks so much for coming in, guys. Wes, Julian, we appreciate you being here. Wes, you're a repeat offender, so thanks for coming back. And anytime, you guys are welcome. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, Julian.
Yeah.
I'm Mitch Gallagher. Thanks for joining me for the Sweetwater Minute.
California, I don't even know you. You've taken me away from home. Oh, Magnolia, I'll never get over you. Feelings running straight to my bones. Someday I'll be coming home. Someday I'll be coming home with a cast iron soul. It was a winding mountain road where the sun shines and the air is cold. Another tired town